RESPCT, something or other. How's that sound?
Watermelon? I don't know. What is the words?
Welcome to the first session on respect. And we're going to give a brief summary of this before you go into the first night study on that. And, respect is something that men really need. And we're poor at articulating that. I actually, before we were doing all of the research and everything for this course, I didn't personally understand how important respect was to me.
I didn't know that it was that important for men to have respect, to feel loved.
Yeah, and nor did I, and it was an eye-opening thing to understand, and it was a powerful part of understanding how to communicate my needs, or to understand when there was something kind of missing in our relationship. There were subtleties that I didn't understand why I was feeling a certain way, and when I understood the importance of respect for men, it allowed me to then articulate things that maybe you were doing that you were unaware of,
Right.
that were impacting my sense of respect from her. And so it's a neat thing. Again, the Bible, we go back to the Bible like we have every time, and the Bible talks about respect and gives us a roadmap for that. So you'll be learning about the Bible's repeated calling for us to show respect, both to our spouses and really everyone in our lives, and the rest of God's creation, frankly. And it's not based like love and humility and submission and sacrifice. Again, it's not based on merit. We're showing it based on the divine inspiration of what God calls us to do. And the rewards are the blessings we get from it. Like all of the investments we make with love, with respect, with submission, with sacrifice, the blessings come, the fruit comes as a result of us loving first, of us respecting first. And so when we look at the evolution in a marriage, and this is probably the most common thing I feel like we see in marriages, is this respect breakdown. Of course, women need respect also. The big difference is men live here. And we'll break down what this means in your marriage and the things to look out for, because they're little things and they add up, and it'll have a bearing on the trajectory of your marriage. So when we talk about the evolution of respect in marriages, and this is the classic thing we see in a lot of marriages that are in crisis, and that is, you get married, Pamela loves certain qualities about me, and then over time, she begins to take those qualities for granted, and men do the same thing with women. And then you can pivot to starting to dissect little things that we don't do as well. So you pivot from admiring and loving all these qualities into, well, I'm going to nitpick all of these little things because I want to make you better. I want to continue to make you the best man you could be. So the intentions can be actually very pure and honorable. Like, I'm trying to make you the best husband ever. But the interpretation, what happens to the psyche of a man, is it's chipping away at our self-respect. And then we start to become less than. And if we're not aware of it as men, we don't really understand. It just starts to feel not good. And it starts to accumulate all of these little micro disrespect.
Notches, yeah.
Yeah, they're it's just a chipping away at the sense of respect a man can feel.
And when the respect is gone, then the love feels like it's being withdrawn. So if a woman does that to her husband, she may not even know that that's what's happening, and he may not even know that that's what's happening either. But as you're chipping away and just bringing these things up over and over again, the love can be withdrawn again, where you're not really realizing it. But all of a sudden you wake up and one day you both feel emptier and like it's not there, and you want it back.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, and we have some exercises you'll be going through in the next few sessions that will help you kind of hone how we rephrase things, because there's nothing wrong. It's helpful, right? We're in unity. We're a couple. We're in partnership. I would love for Pam to tell me if there's things I could be doing better, but how she tells me, her desire is to help me be better. How she tells me or gives me advice on how to be better can radically change how I receive that and how I interpret that. And we'll go into some of those examples, and you'll get to practice some of those examples in the exercises coming up. So when we think about these little, I would call them accidental, unintentional, micro assaults on a man's respect, It could be something as simple as, why do you always forget this at the grocery store? Or that's not the way you go. How we say these things, you're giving directions to your spouse, but it's just in a
tone.
It's a tone issue. And so being aware of these little things, it's really easy to pivot it. Once you have an ear for it, you're like, oh, that's so easy to change. It has such a drastic effect on the sense of respect that your husband will have and how you'll naturally react to your wife and feel this natural flow of love instead of the manhandling of love, that the God-driven love that we'll need on those days, but it will help that flow, between you as a couple.
And I think just knowing those kind of examples are an example of what respect is for a man is going to be so enlightening for a lot of women, because I would have never known that by correction or obviously the tone is something that needs to be handled, but those type of corrections can actually hurt a man's respect. Like I think that's such valuable information.
Yeah, when you say that, it's particularly in front of other people.
Yeah.
And that disrespect can occur with your spouse or in isolation. And that's something else we'll be talking about later, is that, are we protecting our marriage? Are we keeping it safe when your spouse is around or not when your spouse is around? And we've all heard it. We've all been around it when one person in a relationship is talking negatively about their partner. And it, it's destructive. It tears down what they ultimately want, right? If they're in the relationship still, they want harmony, they want love, they want all of these things, yet they're unintentionally maybe tearing down that which they desire. We have something for you at the end of this session that's not very fun.
Your singing?
I promise no more songs for the rest of the course at Pam's request. But that was said with such respect that I still feel.
R-E-S-P-E-C.
I still feel loved. So we're going to go at the end of the section, we're going to have you walk through conflict resolution. It is something for most people, myself included, when you first start to practice this, it feels very contrived. It doesn't feel natural, but it's so important. And it's like anything new that you learn. If you're trying to learn how to swim or ride a bike, the first time you do it, it feels weird. It feels awkward. It feels like you might tip over. But it's something that's so critical to your relationship. Learning how to have conflict, to talk through it in a loving manner, is important in more ways than you know. And here's what I mean by that. Most people, when they have a small digression in their relationship, the tendency is to rationalize in our heads and say, this really isn't a big deal. I'm going to shove this away. I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to make a big deal. I don't want to affect negatively the harmony in our relationship. The missed opportunity is two things. One is we don't get an opportunity to practice with something small, right?
Right.
So we are missing that opportunity. And if you've been through conflict resolution, the feeling at the end of successful conflict resolution, which the exercise you will go through will teach you how to do, is that we actually feel closer than we did before we got into conflict. It's very counterintuitive. So we're missing practice, and we're also missing an opportunity to be more intimate with our spouse, taking conflict and using that as a tool to make your marriage stronger. So lean in. We hope you'll practice those exercises, take them seriously. And it's not a one and done thing. You're going to practice this for the rest of your marriage, but you're going to get better at it. I promise you, if you keep using these tools, and it's going to make your marriage stronger, and you're going to be happier as a result of it.